What made you get into hypnotherapy in the first place?
Well, I've been working in business for a number of years and I was sick to death of corporate life, to be honest, and I had an interest in psychology but realised that I couldn't take 4 years out of my life to do a degree, and I was looking to go into that kind of industry and didn't know how to. And I was looking on the internet one day, had a look at hypnotherapy, which was something I'd come across about 20 years ago as a journalist, and realised that it actually ticked all the boxes for me. And then I looked into training, and when I had a look at the various training courses available, some of them looked a bit dodgy, some of them weren't very professional.
What made you choose the Surrey Institute course?
Well, the Surrey Institute had information on its website about the training, so there was enough detail for me to think this looks interesting enough to make some inquiries. And when I made phone calls, people answered my questions. You know, I spoke to Paul Howard and Paul White, and I was quite inquisitive. You know, I needed a lot of detail before I made that decision because it was a big financial commitment for me. And I got the answers I needed, and it felt right. You know, people were being straightforward. There wasn't any effort to sell me the course. You know, it didn't need to be sold to me anyway because I'd already made my mind up about what I was going to do. I just needed to be certain about the credibility and the standards that I was buying into.
And you came across a good number of years ago now, and you've been practicing in
Tunbridge Wells.
Yeah, Tunbridge Wells, and you came on the course, complete beginner, no experience in the psychology field?
I'd done a counselling course many, many years ago.
Okay.
I'd written about hypnotherapy, and I'd actually been a guinea pig for a smoking cessation session. And I was very cynical, and I wrote a feature piece about it, and it worked. So I knew that hypnotherapy was actually an effective way of treating things and facilitating change. So having had that experience all those years ago, it was a bit of a light bulb moment for me when I was looking some 20 years later at changing my career to discover that there was training out there that would enable me to provide that kind of service.
Did you come on the intensive course? Was yours on the intensive course?
Yes, it was. So it was a week on and then a week out, and home study, if you like, and then a week back in again. And it was intensive, you know, it was a lot to take on board at the time. It almost felt as though we weren't learning anything very much because there's a different way of teaching that comes about with NLP, which was obviously part of the course.
Sure.
Once you've done that kind of training, it's really difficult to go back into another kind of education situation because the way that, teachers don't teach in a way that engages people.
Sure. Yeah. Would you say it's been a good move for you?
Oh, yes, absolutely. No question about it. It's been the best career I've ever had, and I've had some very interesting careers. I've done lots of fascinating jobs, but this one beats all of them for job satisfaction because you're helping people make changes which they haven't been able to make in any other way. More often than not, when people come and see me, I'm right at the end of the line. I'm a last resort. They've tried everything else, and hypnotherapy is the thing that can make the changes for them, along with the NLP techniques, which work so incredibly well in conjunction with hypnotherapy.
Now, you've been practicing for a good number of years, as we said. You're down in Tunbridge Wells. How have you found getting clients into your practice, and more importantly, because you had some quite good marketing skills already, didn't you?
Yeah.
Do you think that the marketing module was an important part of the course for people coming on without those skills that you had, for instance?
Absolutely essential. I've got a marketing background, and my marketing skills have served me very, very well. But I didn't know this industry, and actually going into a therapeutic environment is a different ballgame altogether to commercial corporate marketing.
Sure.
And I needed the advice and information that was given on that marketing course. It gave me the inside edge that I had a little bit of anyway. A lot of therapists who are excellent at what they do fall down very quickly because they haven't got the marketing capability that they need to maintain their profile sufficiently to get traffic through their door.
To get the business. The best way to help poor people is not to be one, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
A lot of therapists have a poverty mentality. There's the idea that, you know, somehow making money negates the therapy that you're offering.
Yeah, and that's very true. And I think you're not motivated if you're not earning enough money to keep your standard of living to a reasonable level. I don't think you become motivated. I mean, I see a lot of therapists out there who have fallen by the wayside simply because they've run out of money and they've got disheartened with it.
Yeah.
You know, even though they've helped people, and they're quite good therapists. You know, on the course you came at the Surrey Institute of Clinical Hypnotherapy, did it meet your expectations? What you were expecting from it?
It exceeded them actually, because I knew a little bit about hypnotherapy, knew a little bit about NLP, but when it came to actually learning from people who are working with these different kinds of therapies, it was eye-opening. It was sometimes even jaw-dropping, because some of these techniques are so effective, and I had no idea of the range and scope of these kinds of techniques that we were learning, and it was incredible.
Yeah, it's not all about techniques though, is it? Is it? I mean, we tend to think that we like to train people to think like a therapist more than actually just the techniques. The techniques are important, of course, so you can get across the skills that you need. But during the course, did you find that your thinking changed, the way you would approach people, like the approach to therapy? Was that different to what you expected or what you expected?
What I was looking for was something that was down to earth. I didn't want anything that was too esoteric. I wanted something that I could explain easily and that was simple for people to understand and to assimilate, and for me to be able to work with without having to take on a new set of beliefs, if you like.
Yeah. Okay,
and that was important to me, and everything that I learnt made sense to me. So it was obviously the right course for me. It was the right kind of skill sets for me personally. Now, whether or not that was because I fitted the bill for that kind of therapy, or whether or not it was because I learnt the things I needed to learn to work in the way that I do, probably a combination of both, I'd say.
That would make sense, yeah.
Yeah.
So it wasn't very esoteric, it's very straightforward,
Yeah.
logical,
Yes.
no crystals,
No crystals.
no swinging watches.
No swinging watches.
Okay, cool. So ultimately, what made you choose to go on the course with the Surrey Institute of Clinical Therapy? Was it the accreditation? Was it the time frame? Was it the cost? What helped you with that buying decision?
Okay, one of the things that made a difference was when I found out about the course and figured out that I could afford it. I had a job which I had 1 week to decide whether or not to hand my notice in to finish my job in time to do the course. If I'd had longer, I'd have vacillated, I'd have thought about it too much, I'd have asked too many questions, I'd have done too much research. I had to make my mind up more or less on the spot. You know, that was a fairly radical decision for me to make, and I just did it and went for it. And the reason I did that was because the questions I asked were answered, the information I was given was comprehensive. The decision I made was based on the fact that I could get a nationally accredited qualification from people who I'd already established knew what they were talking about.
And that's with the National Council of Hypnotherapy, so you get this HBD.
That's
accredited by an external accrediting body, i.e. a governing accredited body.
Yes, I'm now a fully accredited member of the National Council for Hypnotherapy. I've got the qualifications which enable me to practice to their standards. They give me that degree of responsibility, that duty of care, that level of professionalism, which is necessary when you're treating people with life-changing conditions.
Vulnerable people, of course.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's actually a tough question because it's changed everything. I'll start again actually. That's changed everything for me. I look forward to going to work. I really love my job. I really enjoy it, and that's genuinely truthful. I get a lot of satisfaction out of the results that I get. I've got a job that works around my family commitments. I've got a job that brings me a decent income. I've got a job that is interesting, stimulating, entertaining and inspiring. I'm always going to be training. I'm never going to stop learning. So I'm going to adapt and change as my abilities increase, and the things that I can offer to my clients are going to change as well. So I'm just looking forward to having a really long career doing a job that I love doing. So that changes a lot for me.
Okay. Well, thanks so much for your time, Karen, and thanks for coming on.